From the skies over Omex, 12 human projectiles came down like the wrath of old gods, not at the targets, but somewhere far beyond the horizon. One ripped straight through a recon cruiser in full view of the crowd. The rest detonated deep in the distance, obliterating command centers no one thought could even be touched. Laughter vanished in an instant, replaced by stunned silence. What the hell did they just do? They weren't even aiming at the field. And what happened next will shake even the hardest veterans. But first, let's go back to where it all began. The arena on Omex shimmered under the refracted glow of its twin suns, its synthetic sky painted with a simulation of battlefield scenarios, the kind designed not just to test, but to impress. Spectators from across the galaxy, draped in ceremonial robes or tactical exosuits, crowded the observation decks. Holograms hovered above them, tracking each participant's accuracy, response time, and tactical elegance. The Vornak, reptilian titans in obsidian armor, had just finished reducing a kilometer-wide meteor to iron dust in under 8 seconds. Roars of approval still echoed when the Zalari took the field, their shots a ballet of ultraviolet brilliance that left the arena glowing for minutes afterward. Then, Earth was called. The change in atmosphere was immediate and stark. Conversations turned flippant, a few dignitaries scoffing audibly. One Ruvan diplomat whispered to his aide, "Ah, the ritual comedy act. Tradition demands it, I suppose." Captain Sarah Conway emerged first, flanked by her squad. Sergeant Miles, twitchy but loyal. Private Deeks, who looked like he'd just rolled out of a bar fight. And Corporal Juno, expression unreadable behind her cracked visor. Their armor bore scuffs, dents, and in one case a duct-taped power cell. A few among the audience leaned forward, amused curiosity replacing feigned diplomacy. Humans, always good for a laugh. Conway knelt, resting her antique M72 rifle on her knee. No auto-aim, no plasma rail, just carbon steel and combustion. She squinted down the iron sights as the target drone hovered, gleaming, motionless, 40 meters away. Bang! The bullet veered wildly, slamming into the dirt. Laughter erupted like cannon fire. By the third miss, a Zenari minister was doubled over, gasping. By the fifth, a group of Ilari students started a mock chant. "Earth aims wide, Earth aims low." Commander Varek stood arms crossed, his silver skin catching the light, lip curled. "Their bullets fall like wet leaves," he muttered. "This is warfare?" Conway offered no reaction. She merely chambered another round. Her expression was neutral, stoic to the point of insult. Her soldiers followed suit, silent, stone-faced, unmoved by the jeers echoing around them. Each shot missed spectacularly. And yet, at the fringe of the diplomatic box, young Nellis, strategic aide to the Vorten assembly, watched not the bullets, but the humans' formation. Not a single one glanced at the target. Their spacing was precise, their stances deliberate. They weren't floundering, they were aligning. A flicker of unease crept across his angular features. He leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "This isn't target practice," he whispered to himself. "It's calibration." The stars beyond the viewport of the Indomitable were deathly still, so still they mocked the noise churning inside the ship's steel belly. The galactic feeds had turned Earth's failure into comedy, their misses stitched into remixed vids, syncopated to music from extinct Earth bands. The most viral clip featured Captain Conway's third missed shot overlaid with clown horns and the caption, "Earth shoots for the stars," literally. Lieutenant Miles scrolled past them without expression, only pausing when one image caught his eye. A side-by-side of their unit standing in formation with the caption, "Cosplay squad or actual military? You decide." He grunted softly, a sound halfway between disgust and amusement, then turned back to the star chart blooming across the hollow table. 3 clicks off optimal orbit, but the slingshot window's still open. Atmospheric drift minimal, he said, dragging a finger across the map, which traced a thin golden arc that bypassed the designated combat grid entirely. Across the room, Sarah Conway stood in full armor, arms crossed, unmoving. Her gaze was pinned not to the feed or the map, but to the reflection of her crew in the viewport glass. Sergeant Deeks ran diagnostics on the targeting drones, his hands steady despite the ridicule. Juno was recalibrating fire control algorithms by hand, a task normally left to AI. Even now, they weren't reacting to the mockery. They were refining. The mockery had bought them time. It had drawn attention away from their true target, those shielded command vessels stationed beyond the perimeter, thought untouchable by the rules of the war games. But the rules, Conway had decided, were written by the confident, for the predictable. Her voice cut through the room with the precision of a blade. "We ready?" Miles didn't look up. "Target's locked. They still think we were aiming for the drones." She stepped forward, the floor panels clicking beneath her boots, each step deliberate. "Good. Then they're exactly where we need them." No one laughed aboard the Indomitable. No one needed to speak of the embarrassment circulating across Omnet feeds or the diplomatic forums where Earth was being politely dismissed as tactically charming. The silence wasn't shame, it was focus. They had let the galaxy believe what it wanted to believe, because only fools laughed while humans took aim, and they hadn't missed. They had misled. The final day dawned over Omex like the quiet breath before a storm, brilliant and deceiving. Twin suns cast long amber shadows across the arena as delegates filed into their balconies, adorned in victory silks and ceremonial armor. Above them, banners of the top-ranked species fluttered proudly in the gravity-controlled breeze. Thulek's Dominion, Vornak Imperium, Xalari Concord, the Alari Synthesis, and the Solarii Collective. Each had dominated the trials with spectacle and statistical perfection. Earth, however, was not listed, not even as an afterthought. "They've probably run out of bullets," the announcer quipped, drawing laughter that rippled through the arena like a cruel wind. But laughter died quickly when Indomitable emerged from behind Omex's crescent moon. She didn't descend. She loomed, silent, imposing, unexpected. Her silhouette shimmered against the upper atmosphere like a blade unsheathed in the dark. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Conway stood at full attention. Around her, the crew moved like clockwork, not a word wasted. Her voice, measured and final, cut through the comms. "Targets acquired. Firing sequence Alpha 1. 12 bursts of light flashed from the ship's underside. The kinetic rounds were not spectacular, not at first. They shimmered faintly, like stones skipping across the vacuum, each one flanked by a slender micro-drone emitting bursts of pale blue correctional fire. To the untrained eye, they looked like nothing more than debris, until they began to hit. The first explosion landed 200 miles from the training field, an off-limits desert quadrant that no one had even glanced at. The fireball bloomed like a dying star, incinerating the Vornak's unguarded command vessel in one flawless strike. Gasps turned to screams as one by one, each of the 5 supposedly invulnerable command ships erupted into incandescent chaos. Mountains split, craters formed, shockwaves rattled the spectator domes. The war games didn't have a script for this. Nellis gripped the edge of his seat, his pupils dilated with realization, his heart's pounding. Across from him, Varek's skin had turned a ghostly silver. What were they aiming at?" Varek asked, as if the answer could change reality. Nellis stared, voice hollow with stunned respect. "They weren't aiming at the target. They were aiming at the command." In the silence that followed, The galaxy shifted. Not from force, but from understanding. Earth hadn't shown strength. They had shown vision. The chamber of the High Council of the Peace Front was a sanctum of marble and alloy, its domed ceiling etched with the emblems of every species under its banner. Normally, it was a place of ceremonial decisions and slow diplomacy. That day, it bristled with something far rarer: humility. Delegates filled the circular tiers in silence, the weight of Earth's orbital strike still rippling through every calculation, every strategic model previously held as gospel. Holograms projected real-time replays of the destruction, frames frozen mid-impact, trajectories charted backwards from devastation to origin. No simulation had ever accounted for such a paradigm shift. Captain Sarah Conway stood alone on the obsidian platform at the chamber's center, unadorned, her uniform dusted with faint carbon scoring from Indomitable's command deck. She didn't posture. She didn't bow. She waited. The silence cracked when Commander Varric, his pride wounded far deeper than any fleet vessel, rose from his seat. "Was this an act of mockery?" he demanded, voice sharp, his ceremonial robe billowing with feigned outrage. "Or sabotage? Did the humans come here to ridicule the foundation of this council?" Conway tilted her head slightly. There was no venom in her voice, only precision. "It was a demonstration, Commander, of perspective." Varric's sneer deepened. "You bypassed the designated combat grid." She met his gaze without blinking. "And so would any enemy that hoped to win." A hush swept the chamber, not of judgment, but understanding. The kind that comes when long-held assumptions collapse, and something new, uncomfortable but undeniable, rises in their place. The Reuven delegate, normally verbose, offered only a nod. The Zalari representative closed all three of his eyes in reluctant concession. By the following cycle, training academies from the rim colonies to the core worlds began integrating Conway simulations. The phrase targetless engagement surged through tactical forums, no longer a curiosity but a doctrine. Where once soldiers had been taught to hit what was placed before them, now they were trained to question why it was placed there at all. Sarah Conway and her team returned to Earth aboard Indomitable under the cover of silence. No fanfare, no streamers, no medals. Just the deep, unspoken satisfaction of having shifted the arc of history. In briefing rooms and war councils across the galaxy, one truth remained. Humans hadn't missed the target. They had aimed for what truly mattered, and struck. Not with spectacle, but with understanding. And that was deadlier than any weapon.